You're listening to the Disruptive Franchise Podcast with Stacey Cann, the podcast that celebrates innovation in franchising and peeks behind the curtain of failure, success, and the future of the franchise industry.
Hello everybody, welcome to this week's episode of the Disruptive Franchise Podcast. Today I am joined by Amanda from AKP Branding Stories. Hello, lovely.
Hello, Deli. How are you?
I am good, really good. I'm thrilled to have you here. You've been a part of the Disruptive Franchise Awards, I'm going to say since 2025, because people might be listening to this in however many years' time. I love it.
I know.
Awesome. Blows my mind about podcasts in that way. But yes, you've been a big part of the Disruptive Franchise Awards since I took over, and the visual aspect. And essentially, any post that anyone has seen me talking about Disruptive Franchise Awards and promoting this podcast actually have all used Amanda's images. So you are integral in there.
You. It was such an amazing event. It was so much fun. The people that you had in the room, and I think the genuine celebration amongst everybody, all the nominees, the people that were there, they were genuinely happy for the people that won. None of this fake Oscars style, oh yeah, great. They actually meant it, and it was really lovely to be in the room and kind of see it all unfold.
Thank you. It's exactly what I wanted to create, was this atmosphere of warmth, not compassion warmth, but genuinely just, we are all amazing. Let's all just be amazing together. And it doesn't matter who holds that trophy, really. At the end of the day, they all did so well to get there. Not to take away from people who, hold the trophy. That's still a big deal, but it's more than that, I think, at the Disruptive Franchise Awards, which is absolutely what I wanted to create and capture. So tell us a little bit about what you do, Amanda. Tell us about your business.
So I'm a brand photographer and videographer. Primarily started with photos, so I was in the wedding industry for a little bit, but very quickly fell in love with the suppliers in the wedding industry and telling their story, which is then when the brand photography came out, because 2025 saw my 12th business birthday. So 12 years ago, Instagram wasn't really a thing for businesses, which just makes me feel super old. But businesses weren't really showing their face, even though we know that people buy from people that they know, like, and trust. So it grew really quickly. And then in 2024, back end of 2023, I saw a real push on socials, especially for video content, and thought, well, my clients need that too, so brought the videography side on it, and that will continue to grow. I think
it's so important to be able to show that, because when I was having taken over the Disruptive Awards from somebody else, I didn't have the previous year's video footage, and trying to get across to people who had never been to this event before what it was going to actually feel like in the room was so hard, because yes, we've had the photography, but it just doesn't, the emotion is different, I think, when you see people moving around and their faces light up, and
I think also what you're doing is so different to other industry awards. There's none of this corporate stuffiness that people just think, oh god, I've got to go to this event, it's gonna be really boring, can I just show my face and not stick around type thing. We've all been to those sorts of corporate events. They suck the absolute life out of you. So you need to be able to show people what it's like to be in the room. And let's face it, drum up a little bit of FOMO for the fact that you didn't come, and maybe you need to get your ticket for the future years.
Exactly that. And tickets are available, by the way.
Fabulous. Everybody needs to get those.
Get your tickets in. Absolutely. I do think that, actually, and I think from me being in the room and looking out over what was created, I had this really lovely moment. Lewis was on the stage and he made everybody stand up and clap themselves, and he joked haha, you've made me look really good. I thought that was brilliant. But the genuine happiness, and to be able to capture that on video, I think is just the most powerful thing that we've got in terms of showing people what that room is really like to be in. Like,
Yeah.
it's not another stuffy awards, it's not another like come and cringy network. Like, it just really wasn't like that. And I do think that having the videography element there is so key. How did you get into capturing events like this? So obviously wedding to event, I kind of get that, like I do, but
Yeah.
what was the thing that started on?
So actually what got me into photography was the fact that I needed a creative outlet. I worked in a very doom and gloom industry in crisis management and counterterrorism. So everything was, what's the worst that could happen? Put a plan in place for it or respond to it. And when I started working more with business owners, particularly then coming into this online business world, people were running retreats and events, and I was like, okay, so it's actually more than the brand photography side of it. It's more than just what you need for social media and like looking to camera and you doing a thing. Like, I can bring that, maybe a little bit of the adrenaline that comes with events. Like, there's something about an event day, like there was with a wedding, where you never really know what might happen. Like, there's always a chance for a curveball, and being an ex-crisis manager, I thrive on adrenaline and the unknown and fixing things. So, and you don't really get that so much in a like safe shoot. Like, everything's planned, everything's to whereas you can always guarantee on an event something doesn't quite work out. Like, there's a tech issue or there's timings go out because somebody takes 20 minutes to give their speech instead of 5 minutes. And so I do get that little bit of a buzz. And I think that's why I do like doing events, but they've got to be, for me, the right events, because if I had to sit through a really dull one, I think you'd just tell in the video or the photos because my spark's not there. And I'm just like, oh God, come on, let's get on with it. So it's got to be the right event for me. The same way it's got to be the right business owners, because if I don't click or connect with that person, I'm not going to get the best content anyway.
Yeah, I really see that having worked with you over the years as well. Like, so I think a lot of people don't believe, but I am a proper like massive introvert. Like, I take
Yeah.
after those awards, I took a month to like just like recover. I remember one of the first times I worked with you, you did a shoot with me in London, and I'm sure most people say this, but the first thing I remember saying to you, I hate having my photos
Yeah.
taken.
Honestly, I think actually if I just got paid every time somebody said that, I could retire now.
Yeah.
Because I did a count on so when the business turned 11, I counted up how many business owners I'd worked with, and it was 324 business owners. That number will be higher now because this 2025 alone, I did 178 shoots.
Wow.
Which is insane. And some, like a lot of those were multiple shoots through the year. So I don't know what the total business number of people is yet. But of those 324 people, I could count on one hand the number of people who liked being in front of the camera or didn't have any of those like nerves. I got person number 6 this year, so I'm on 6 people who were like, yeah, I love having my photo taken, like this is really fun for me. For everybody else, it's that, oh God, you're here with the camera, and I'm like, yeah, thanks, like I am a person. Like, people actively like, and even at the awards, some mutual person that we know went, oh, you're here with the camera. I was like, yes, I am. Thank you very much. I am.
That's what I'm here to do. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a really funny one. I feel personally like I do stories a lot on Instagram, and I'll go live without really much thought. I never plan what I'm going to say because I know that some things will come out of my mouth and it will work. Whereas for photo shoots, it's really out of my comfort zone because I don't know why, but I can't control my face. Like, when I used
Yeah.
to.
On video, you're constantly moving, so you don't get that. Like, and I like Hutch, my husband. He used to shoot the weddings with me, and I remember on a wedding, he was like, "I've got some behind the scenes photos of you," and he caught me like doing group shots, and I was like, I'm like 5'8", 5'9", so I'm generally taller than most of the like bridesmaids that I would shoot, and I looked like the Grinch from the side. Like, I was hunched. He got me side profile, which is not my best angle. I had resting bitch face, and I was like, oh my God, is this what I look like? Okay. And I think that's it. Like, we particularly, our generation, grew up when social media first really appeared, except the photos that were put up were with terrible disposable cameras, with so much flash that you lost your nose, and they were on nights out and we looked terrible. Whilst also being in this media world where cellulite was circled on photos, and size 10 or 12 models and celebrities were classed as plus size, which is insane. So we've grown up with all of these like messages around us that we don't look good in photos because we've not been professionally shot and we've not been airbrushed within an inch of our life. And that stuff sticks with you. So then when somebody takes a photo of you, you go, oh my God, are you going to highlight all of the things that I hate about myself? So it's no wonder that, 319 people had been in front of my camera, and it's really vulnerable for them to do.
Definitely is. And it is that thing in the 90s, isn't it, where the media went so hard in on female body image. I know male body image as well, but like as a female growing up in that time, like the whole issues with being good enough. I mean, you're being compared to something that just isn't real because they've been airbrushed the image of their life. And it's funny actually now looking back on things like, when they do like the girl band, like documentaries, and just like, oh my, we were exposed to all of that. It's awful.
Yeah.
As a business owner now, like for me getting started in my business, I knew that I would need to have proper photography. And I went as far as I could with using my own. But even selfies, I find really uncomfortable.
Oh, I can't do a selfie.
Really honest, because there's no good angle on a selfie.
No, I can't do a selfie. I'm all forehead in a selfie. Like I can't get. No, I'm not. I can't get it to work. And as a professional photographer, that's really frustrating. But it's true. Like, and I was the same. Like I went, I had I'd been like 5 years in business before I had a brand shoot, and even then it wasn't a brand shoot. I went to she was a family photographer, and the photos we got are very, very lovey-dovey, which, okay, we're a husband and wife team, but it was a bit much, like a little bit too much. So my first proper brand shoot was like 6-7 years into business. But you can do that, and I think particularly now you can go quite far not having a brand shoot. And I know that feels wild to be saying that as a professional photographer, but I would rather people show up on stories and going live and taking their audience behind the scenes with them and doing that rather than going, well, I can't do anything because I haven't had a shoot. So like you can, and you absolutely do need both within your business. Like you can't just keep putting professional imagery up and never showing people like what's going on day to day or coming and talking to camera, because in almost all industries there are so many people competing for your audience's attention, and we have got the lowest attention span now than we ever have. And so if you're not grabbing someone or building that connection within a few seconds, people will scroll on. But I think where brand photography is really important to come into is when you are stepping outside of social media and things like your website, speaker bios, if you're doing a book, if you're going for awards, things like that. You need to have that extra level of professionalism, PR and things like that, that the selfie doesn't really hit home to.
I completely agree with that actually. And just literally Friday, so last week, I got an out of the blue email from Franchise Magazine asking me to contribute very last minute to a piece they were doing. And we'd love to have you on board. Can you send such and such the article, your bio and your headshot? And there's a time where I'd have completely freaked out and been like, oh my goodness, I've got to send them my photo. But because I've got that brand photography, it was just like, okay, done, send it off and off it goes. Like it was didn't even think about it. As I remember years ago, before having the brand photography done, working in Daisy First Aid head office. And I know that the picture has been changed because we actually changed it quite recently, but the CEO asked me for a headshot for the website because I was part of the head office team. I was like sweaty palms. I was properly freaking out because I didn't have a decent enough photo of me that wasn't like me on a drunk night out 10 years ago, or like me with my kids, or with, you know, all the, you know, everything kind of there on display. So I didn't feel like I had something professional enough. I always hated my franchisee picture. I hated it. Like, it just didn't ever look like me, really. And so I went one morning to the park. So natural, I was like, okay, natural light, we're good here.
Yeah.
Propped it up, and I must have taken about 50 pictures. And I hated every single one. And we just had to pick from the, I mean, you know, I'm sure that it wasn't as bad as it is in my head, but we just had to pick from the worst one and just be like, that'll do. It was horrible. So the contrast between like that and now being like, oh yeah, here's my headshot. It's like, I feel like a different person.
But that also means, because journalists used to be able to send photographers to someone's house to do, but we have such a high turnover now of media with it all being online that they just don't, you know, they're not running to print runs anymore. But you've made that journalist's job really easy, because you've been able to send your contribution in, your bio and your photo. They've not had to chase you. So they'll, next time they need a piece, they'll go, oh, well, Stacey's really reliable. She's got the goods. Let's go to her. And they'll discount a whole load of other people because they don't have a bio ready to go. They don't have a photo that's high resolution, you know, or they've had to chase them for it. Like, journalists don't have that time anymore to do that.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. And this one actually was a print publication, bizarrely, unusually. And yeah, they needed a high res. And to just be able to have it on file, but yeah, done, easy, just so different. And I kind of think where our own visibility blocks get in the way. And I also I remember booking that first shoot with you and thinking, like, am I ready for this? Like, who am I to be having a photo shoot? Felt so different, because my friends don't come from the online world at all.
Yeah,
like, they're gonna like properly laugh their heads off at me, like I'm going for a photo shoot. Who the hell does she think she is?
Yeah.
And they didn't at all. They were lovely. It was really supportive. But in my head, it's like, oh, this is the vainest thing I could ever do. And I was kind of brought up like, don't be vain. Shouldn't be vain.
Oh, same.
But it was the vainest thing I could possibly do. And my daughter was like, Mum, that's amazing. Like, she was so like the
proper
glamour
cheerleader.
part, proper cheerleader. But in my head, I was like, what are you doing? Who even are you? Like, all this like mental chatter. And it's the same chatter that stops you showing up, isn't it? But I think it's really funny psychologically, because I wouldn't not go to an event because I'd be thinking, who am I to go to an event?
Interesting, because I do.
The fact that it's, oh really?
Yeah.
The fact that it's a picture for me is like, well, who am I to go and have that done? And we've gone on, we've done other photo shoots since, because you were wonderful and made me feel really at ease. But for me, it's like the in-person live bit is fine. It's the capturing for me.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
And I think like what I say to a lot of my clients is, you've got to flip that on its head even. It's not who am I to be doing this, but who am I not to be doing this? Because if you are not visible, your audience, your potential clients, however you are serving your paying customers, they can't come and spend money with you if they don't know who you are. You can't help all these people, and that's help because you are, you know, take Daisy First Aid, you're teaching parents a life-saving skill, versus, you know, when there used to be Tupperware parties and you're helping people organize their kitchen and everything in between. Like, if they don't know who you are, you can't help them. And so the only way that they get to know who you are, and therefore benefit from the support that you're able to give them in whatever guise that is by you being visible and showing up. So it's actually not about you, and it's selfish for you not to show up, is what I'm saying in the nicest possible way. So stop being selfish, everyone. Get your face out there and just think how many people it is that you'd be able to help.
So true, isn't it? It really is. I really love a reframe, and that's a good one. Because yeah, I also think like it's almost that same, like I had this real issue when I started my business of like being seen, like recording myself.
Yeah, and it's still like, it's weird, really, isn't it?
It's a cringy, weird feeling. I had this one moment where I committed to being live at 9 a.m. on a Monday morning in my Facebook group, and I'd really like firm commitment to myself, and I had people that would show up and be there and expect me. and a school meeting overran. So I was late getting, and I couldn't get home into my safe environment to do this. I was like, oh no, what am I going to do? And I was actually walking between the school and the car park, which was like a 10-minute walk. I'm going to have to do it here in the street. I had to pull out my phone and like talk to my camera. And there was no one around. And like a dog walker probably walked past and didn't even look up. But once I'd broken the seal of that, I was like, okay, I'm not going to be eaten by a tiger if I keep doing this. This is okay. But and I see this a lot, like we're so self-conscious to let anybody see what we're doing because it's got to be hush hush, whereas actually no one cares.
No, and that's it. And the thing with us having the shoot in London is like, there were people milling around. Nobody looked up. And I think because especially when you're shooting in London, like they're so used to the bloggers and the influencers, like prancing down the streets in big skirts, that they just think, oh, okay, fine. And they've seen it all. Maybe if you're doing it in a quiet little village somewhere, the neighbours might be twitching through the curtains going, what's she doing? But I also think that people go, oh, she must be famous. Like, I wonder what she's at. And they spend the rest of the day going, was she in that film with that person? And they've spent hours searching IMDb trying to figure out who you are, when actually you're Stacey, the business owner, rather than, Stacey, the Hollywood actress that they can't remember who is.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it?
But yeah, I think some of it is like we said before, we've grown up in this really weird time. Whereas I think the entrepreneurs and business owners of the future, like the kids that are growing up now, God, I sound old saying this, the kids that in our day, they're used to it. So they're used to having everything on social media, which is a good or a bad thing. That's probably a debate for another day. So they won't have that fear necessarily of showing up online unless they've had bad experiences of that online, which is obviously that I think that's what a lot of people are worried about is, am I going to get trolled? And it is a risk, but for one troll versus 100 other people that really resonate with what you say, we have to grow a bit of a thick skin and try and not let them ruin it for us.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, I really do. And I think once you can cross that bridge, you almost become a little bit unstoppable because it's another barrier that you get out of the way and continue with. But psychologically, it's so much, isn't it? Like, on any given day, it's a lot to think about.
It is, and ultimately, like these people, and I have to keep reminding myself. So I'm actually really bad at showing up online. I beat myself up a lot for it. Usually, what happens is I will stop at a service station, and I will do before I have a nap, because if I'm driving for a long time, I always factor in a service station nap. And I'll do a live and I'll be like, I'm on my way to a shoot. It's going to be a really good shoot. I'll take you behind the scenes. I do the shoot. I don't take behind the scenes at all because it's not a habit for me to remember to record things. I'm so focused on the shoot. And then I'll be in the car on the way home, stop at a service station and go, yeah, I didn't show you anything. And I've actually just decided maybe this is just my thing, is you never get to see behind the shoot on me, but you'll always get to see what service station I'm at as I travel around the country.
It's a good hook.
Because I'm like, that's the only time really that I will go live on stories. I've started doing it a little bit on the school runs. I found a good filter if I'm not wearing makeup. Or like today, because I'm recording, maybe I'll show up on stories because I'm not wasting a face of makeup.
You're ready.
I'm ready. I may as well. And I think we have to stop beating ourselves up about being everything and everywhere, and just show up when we can, but don't hide all the time. Like there is a balance, isn't there, really? I think.
Yeah, I think so. I think particularly like when I'm talking to franchisors at the moment, we're talking about content as part of the recruitment process within you, because we have to be able to show up authentically as who you are. There is an element of professionalism that is needed because you're representing a brand, and very often it's going to be, or it is, a national brand. So there is an element of showing up in quote marks properly. However, actually the recruitment funnel really more than ever now needs franchisors to be showing up as who they are. You know, on any given day, this screen behind me isn't there because I'm recording a podcast now. And it's not that it's fake or inauthentic. It's just that, you know, most days there'll be a blank wall behind me instead. They're both the same person. It's both the same brand. But actually, the thing that's more likely to convert somebody is not this backdrop or that backdrop or me in the car on the school run.
Yeah.
It's actually all of that, because you see the whole person. And I think that particularly with franchisors now going into kind of this next cycle of wherever we're at in the world, it is super important that actually we're there, we're real, we're authentic, we're building emotional connection. You can't build emotional connection with somebody if they can't get a sense of who you are.
Yeah. And that can be something really as simple as like chatting when you're on a dog walk, or just anywhere out and about. But I can't remember who it was that I saw, but they always share their tips and tricks on their dog walk, and so the content that they're giving is really valuable, really engaging, and I'm also getting a sense of who they are, although I can't for the life of me remember who their name is, so we're going to blame the brain on that one. But I can picture their face, and I could very easily from their remember their business and go and find them. But the fact that they're not feeling they've got to sit in a studio and everything, they're just out on a dog walk, because actually natural light is in abundance, so it's really well lit, and I'm getting to know who they are, and it can be that simple to do because you're already doing something. Like I said, I do it sometimes on the school run, so that people can just see who you are. It doesn't have to be this full-on polished professional shoot. Yes, you need that, but to actually build that connection, we need this sort of engagement and this sort of storytelling as to what you're doing and what you're about, because people, like you said, in that recruitment side of things, people aren't going to come and apply to be a franchisee if they don't know you, or they think you're a moron.
Yeah.
Because it's a bit it's a really big investment of time, energy, money, like everything to join a franchise. So you've actually got to put some of that in yourself, like put some skin in the game yourself to be able to attract the people that you want to come and represent your brand.
Yeah, absolutely. And even things like dog walk, if you're not a dog person, you're going to put someone off. Like, good. You want to put people off. You don't want to talk to everybody. Like, you need to narrow down that field of who you are. And I also think that the difference between buying a course and buying a franchise is you're giving over a significant part of your life to be in that franchise. And maybe I've worded that badly, but you are not going to a job 9 to 5. You're not going to learn for this short period of time and get out. That is going to become a big part of your life day to day, not just your life, even your family's life, because you're here, there, everywhere. It's a business.
It's a business. You are asking someone to embark on being a business owner, and yes, we do that for the freedom, but it is also at times all consuming. So you need to, as the person kind of embarking on that, you need to know that you're coming in to the right team and the right structure, and that the values align for the franchise that you're buying into. So, and all of that is really easy to convey if you're having this sort of connection and engagement online, and harder to convey just through a headshot.
Definitely. I just had a really crazy thought, actually. Imagine you're thinking about buying a franchise and it's a business in a box and it's all done for you, but you meet a guy in a pub and you just buy it because you just met him for the first time. And you're like, yeah, okay, I quite like the look of you, let's go. You would never do that with a business. No. and so
here's a substantial amount of money and my life.
And my life, all in your hands, off you go. Yeah, I've just met you one time and you seem all right. And essentially, when we're not showing up online and being our authentic self and showing the different facets of us,
That's what we're
That's
expecting
kind of
people
what
to
we're
do.
expecting people to do,
Yeah.
which is crazy.
Yeah.
So you want to know who you're investing in. You want to know who they are as a
Yeah.
person. And I think to bring it back to the awards as well, like the people who made finalists for the awards and the winners, they gave a really good sense of not just what their business did, but who they were as people.
Yeah.
I think it was a really key aspect for the judging criteria to be able to look at what the whole person has done and contributed and failed at as well, more than anything else. Like we don't just look at success in Disruptive Franchise Awards, but to get a really good sense of who those right people were. And I think that's what brought those right people into the ring.
Yeah, and actually the stories that they were sharing, and there was a real, at times, like a real vulnerability of what people were sharing as well. Like, and again, it was that sense of community and everybody coming together. And some people only just met that day. And yet there was still this shared connection that we are franchisors and franchisees, and we're all kind of, walking a similar path, and we're supporting each other. And that was just really so lovely to see.
Yeah, it really was. Can't wait to do it again.
I know, it's gonna be fun.
It's going to be so much fun. It really is. It's the people and the stories and the connection, and to have you at the event actually is wonderful, because that embodies what you do, which is so nice. It's such a complete package in my head.
It is. Well, the business name's Branding Stories. Is I've always been about the storytelling aspect of it. From when it was weddings and right through to anybody's business. Like, there are 1,000 hairdressers within a certain geography, but they've all got different stories, and they've all got different takes on things and personalities, and that's what makes the work I do, or I find it really interesting, because you're all different. And it's the same when I look at when I've gone in and worked with franchise companies, all the franchisees are different. So yes, the methodology is the same throughout, but how you interpret that, or the personality you bring on that, and your own stories and hobbies that we bring into that shoot to build your local know, like, and trust, is what keeps it interesting. And to be honest, it was a little bit why I got bored with weddings, was because actually I don't have that creativity within it, because they sort of follow the same, the sort of same pattern, and everybody wants the same trends of imagery. And I was just like, oh, this is not for me anymore. And if I wasn't loving it, so that's not fair to have someone there that doesn't love it on your day. Whereas that spark is still there for the businesses.
Yeah, love that. And it does really come through. It does. What would you do if you couldn't fail? We ask everybody this, because I think it's a hard question, but we've talked a lot about visibility and putting yourself out there and things like that. But on a scale of anything, because I think we get so caught also in like fear of failure, fear of success.
Yeah, and actually,
just get rid of all the boundaries. What would you do?
there's a couple of things that I think I would love to do in the business that I've always been scared to do. One of those, we have a mutual business friend who's been pushing me to do this for a couple of years, and in fact she announced it on her stage that I was already doing this a couple of years ago, and I was like, I'm not. And that is a really luxury shoot experience. So you travel, overnight hotel, we're in Paris, like everything, you've got a stylist and a makeup artist, and like everything is put together in this amazing luxury experience. So there's that. I've also attended a lot of retreats, and I quite like the idea of hosting one, but I don't know how or in what guise, and it would be the fear of it not selling that has stopped me, I think, from exploring any further. But actually, outside of the business, I think it'd be to be interior designer and do something completely different.
Why interior design?
When we were looking for a house, well, so I wanted to do it right from when I was a teenager, and I did work experience at a kitchen design place, and they like massively put me off it for a while, because all I did for 2 weeks was put VAT pricing on tiles. It was honestly the most bored I have been in my life. And I've done some pretty boring jobs. But whenever we've looked for a house, I go straight to the floor plan. I actually don't care what the house looks like on the inside. I will move walls around, and we're in a new build at the moment, and it's a work in progress because I have a 4-year-old, and so I'm not spending time painting walls when my walls are still being used as a track for Hot Wheels cars.
Yeah.
But when we walked into this house, I took one look at the wall between what was the dining room and the kitchen, and looked at my husband, who's a structural engineer, and he went, "It's not load bearing," and I was like, "Great." So new build houses come with a 2-year warranty, so you're not allowed to, we shouldn't do anything within that 2 years. That came to an end in March this year. In April this year, that wall came down, and we've opened it all out, and there's lots of things that I want to do. I want to go into the loft. I want to, all the rooms need decorating except Jack's playroom. And I just love that kind of creativity. And I think I just love painting walls. Like,
You can come to my house.
Fabulous. That's it. Like
walls.
painting walls and wrapping Christmas presents. I love wrapping presents.
I love wrapping presents, actually.
Yeah, but
really
like
do.
I've
It's
seen a
something
few
very
people.
satisfying.
Yeah, and I've heard a few people be like, "I really hate doing it." I'm like, "Well, I'll come over. Like, that's fine. Just like feed me mulled wine and mince pies, and I'll wrap you presents." I think maybe we should be Christmas elves, and we could just get people to come along, bring their gifts, we'll wrap them up, and then off they go.
I'd be happy with that. I saw this year that, so we're recording this just before Christmas.
Yeah, that's why we're all Christmassy.
That's why we're all Christmassy. But I saw this year that a certain hotel chain, you can
Yes,
book the room.
I have seen this.
To just do your wrapping, and I was like, oh, that'd be amazing.
But actually, I used to work with somebody who, as their group of friends, they would go and go away for the weekend. They would do the rest of their shopping, but they'd bring all of their presents, wrap them all together in their hotel room. So they'd get the like joined rooms or a family room, things like that. So they'd have the space. They'd then go to a show, or they'd go for dinner. So they'd do something as their friends, but they'd get all of their wrapping done and then pack it into the suitcases, and then the suitcases would go back into the house. So the family were none the wiser that that's where all the presents were. And even then I was like, oh yeah, just hiding Christmas presents in suitcases.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I need to find myself a group of wrapping friends.
I like that. That's a good idea. It's that experiential thing, though, isn't it? Like the two things that you said, like the interior design and like the luxury retreat. There was something quite magical, because we've been on retreats together. There's something quite magical about being away from your everyday life, and whether that is with friends to go see a show, or whether it's a business retreat. And I think what you do really well is tag on the photo shoot to different events. I really love that you do that. But that this, as the provider of like an awards service now, and I imagine retreats, I've never done a retreat myself, but there's something so satisfying in holding that space for people.
You could do a franchise or retreat,
couldn't you? Yeah, I've got some ideas for retreats. I had another idea that we'll have to come back to the podcast episode, see what happens. But if I put together a retreat for people who want to franchise a business, you come away with me for the weekend, and we get everything done to franchise.
And I think that's what's really important about taking time out for retreats, because I've been on retreats, like I photograph a lot of them, where there's a lot of chat and a lot of learning, but then people don't, like, they have a notebook full of ideas, and then they go back to their everyday life, and that notebook gets found 6 months later and they haven't actioned any of it. I've been on other retreats where there is time put aside to do the implementation, and I think that's really important, because if you are taking that time out of your business and out of your life and out of your family, then you need to see a return on that in some shape or form. And that's not saying that you're making the money back from the retreat, because that money is invested in the learning and the experience, but you need to see some tangible outcome from that rather than just being, a jolly away.
Yeah.
Because if you go on a wellness retreat, then that outcome is that you are more rested and more like feel you've got a healthier outlook on life and that. So you get that return on those. You need to do the same on business retreats and actually either be really strict with yourself and on the flight home or the train home or the next day, block everything out of your diary and implement it, or have that time within the retreat to do that and come away with the assets that you need and the structure that you need to then franchise your business.
Yeah, definitely. That was advice you gave me when we went to Vegas, actually, was so before we went to Vegas together, I did a shoot with Amanda. And the advice was like, make sure that you put some time aside when you come back to actually go through the notes and implement and put a plan in place. And I did that actually. I set aside the 2 days after I came back from Vegas to literally just like process what happened because it was crazy. But
and and Vegas was full on.
Oh, it was so full on. There was no rest in Vegas.
And actually, Lisa, who runs that retreat, she's very good at her agenda at putting time aside for people to do that implementation. But you can't force people to do the work when all they want to do is go and drink cocktails on a rooftop bar in Vegas. So that's why I was like, you have to put time aside afterwards. And it shows that you did that versus other people who didn't.
Yeah, absolutely. It was really important that because it was a big trip for me. I'd never done a retreat or anything like that before. And coming back
and your first one was Vegas. Go big or go home, Stace.
They know it's go big or go home, and that's it. But yeah, why not? In for a penny, in for all of my money. But it was so worthwhile. What I got from a retreat, and I can see why kind of that is something that you would want to do, because what I got from that retreat was so much more than just time spent on my business. It was such valuable experience for me to be away from my whole life, to be able to process some things that I didn't expect to come up actually, like from a really personal, like deep personal level. But then to come back and have the space aside to actually go, okay, what am I going to take out of this now? And what does it change for me? And what it did was for me is it got me to start to think in a completely different way. And I think that's the value. And as the retreat kind of organizer, what I imagine you get is this real deep satisfaction that, like I said, you held that space that's allowed somebody to go and do something that we just don't get to do in everyday life.
And I think also, within that space, that realization that you're not alone in this, that you are quite often experiencing the same, highs and lows that other people are, but you get their insight as well. So it's actually not just about the host and what they bring, or the speakers and what they bring. There's power in that network that you make, and that continues long after the retreat. Like friendships within business are made there, so that you can go, do you know what, I'm really stuck on this point right now. Can I just bounce some ideas off you? And we need more of that within business. And I think yes, for the people that are setting up as franchises, but your franchisors, like they have a unique set of challenges that other business owners that aren't franchises have, and you can't very well go and like word vomit that all over your franchisees, but you need to have a space where you can go, are you having this issue? Like, are you struggling with recruitment, or have you got a retention issue, or have you got all of these different things that can come out that are unique to your industry that other business owners don't have in quite such magnitude as you would as a franchise. Basically, I think you need to do some sort of retreat.
I think we should do one together. Watch this space, people.
It's like an exclusive. I've just wrangled Stacey into creating some amazing experience retreat for you.
Watch this space.
Because we're not busy enough.
We're not busy enough, but we
No.
just love to throw more in but I think that actually, like, that's a skill that you and I both hold really well, that yes, we're busy, we know we're busy, we're good at discernment, we know what fits, what doesn't, but also we're not afraid to look at opportunities when they come our way. I think that's been really key, because if you were closed off to opportunities, you wouldn't be here now doing what you're doing, would you? You would literally still be shooting weddings or even still in crisis management.
Even though still being in crisis management and rocking in the corner.
Love it. Amanda, how can people get in touch with you?
Probably easiest place to find me is on Instagram. I may or may not take you behind the scenes, but I'm on AKP Branding Stories. Same for the website, although it needs desperately updating. But usually I'm on Instagram, and I will be dipping my toes more into LinkedIn in 2026. I'm holding myself accountable to that. So yeah, you can find me there as well.
Love it, love it. Go and check out Amanda. She is incredible. And if you want a sample of her work, most of my images are done by Amanda, or the good ones, professional ones, not the selfie ones. But yeah, Amanda, I've loved chatting with you. Thank you so much.
Love to chat it too.
Can't wait to get into 2026 Disruptive Franchise Awards with you as well. Yay. Exciting. That's it for this week. Thank you so much for joining us. If you've enjoyed the chat, leave us a little review so that we can hear what you think. Thanks very much. I'll see you next week.
Before we finish up today, I'd love to just thank our podcast sponsors, Book When and Make Your Mark Podcast Agency, without whom this episode wouldn't have been possible. You can find more information on both amazing companies in the show notes. If you've enjoyed listening to today's episode, please also make sure that you hit the subscribe button, and I would absolutely love it if you left a review too. See you next time.